So I guess this shit show happened while I was taking a nap. Let's go ahead and see what Nick had to say to Jordan. Let's see if I can skip ahead. Hold up. Oh, it's 3 minutes. Hold up. Oh no, 2 minutes.
And live.
Here we go.
Status quo. Hope everybody's having a lovely day. I don't know what other way to say this. I sent Nick Brana the video link for this about 5 or 6 minutes ago. I don't see him here yet. So, okay. He just texted me that he's on his way.
Oh, okay.
So let's wait
LA late.
for Nick to join us. Said he's on his way. So waiting for Nick to join us to discuss my reporting into... Nope, he hasn't backed out. He just texted me that he's on his way. So just a couple minutes late. I sent him the link about 5 or 6 minutes before the interview. So all good that he's not here yet. It's been a busy day. I'm going on vacation tomorrow. So I've been trying to prepare for that, as well as some other things. So hope everybody's having a good day. I'm not going to start on the story until he gets here. You know what? Actually, I was honestly with him just going to start by reading his statement. So I guess I could read that before he gets here, since I was just going to read his statement first while he was here. So this is the statement that Nick Brana had put out on Wednesday in response to an allegation of sexual harassment by a subordinate at the People's Party. I think it's important to read. It's a long statement, but I'm going to read the full thing just so you could have the context if you haven't read it. The headline, because this was on their website, is People's Party Blocks Liberal Takeover Attempt. An address to our members by Nick Brana, the chair of People's Party. My friends, I have been accused of sexual harassment. These allegations are false and politically motivated. There is no evidence to substantiate them. In fact, following a thorough investigation, my accuser admitted that there is no evidence to substantiate them. We had been in a consensual relationship that she had initiated. The accuser made allegations against me to the board in December, 1 week before the start of the National Organizing Committee. Immediately, there were red flags. Mixed in with the allegations were demands for professional advancement and veiled threats to the board that she could go public and attempt to destroy the party if her demands weren't met. When she made these serious accusations, the board acted immediately and appointed a committee of 3 board members to investigate. After taking written statements, interviewing both of us separately, and examining the evidence, the committee concluded that the allegations did not have merit and were a politically motivated attempt to remove me. They discovered that the 2 board members who had confided to others that they had long sought to remove me and take my position had orchestrated the allegations with the accuser and a contractor. Before anyone had investigated the veracity of her allegations, they treated them as a foregone conclusion and personally called and lobbied every member of the board to remove me, the first democratically elected chair of this party, whom you, the membership, chose. Instead of running against me in the last year's interim chair election of this year's National Committee chair election, they tried to remove me through false allegations. The People Party is a populist party. These board members wanted to convert it into a more liberal and woke party. They had already begun reorienting the party's message away from economic populism and towards identity politics, a transformation that alarmed many volunteers. They were supported by contractors who abused their positions of authority in the party to attack our own volunteers, delegates, and even Ralph Nader, who spoke at the opening meeting of the National Organizing Committee as sexist, racist, and white supremacists for seeking to build class solidarity. The liberal faction opposed allowing our membership to democratically decide the party's position on COVID vaccine mandates, going as far as attempting to shut down a party-wide vote and censor and cancel volunteers who discussed it in Slack. They even responded to Rodrigo's personal story of suffering a vaccine injury. Rodrigo is his father, Nick's father. Bell's palsy by alleging that it hadn't actually happened. They sought to replace our universalist message of healthcare, college, and housing for all with partitioned messages for different identity groups, a staple of Democratic Party campaigns. They were fundamentally reorienting the party away from its populist mission of uniting the left and right.
Okay, y'all, please listen to this statement, because this is absolutely just such right-wing bullshit. This is some right-wing bullshit. And this is the problem, a big fucking problem. It's not the only problem, but this is a big fucking problem with Nick Brana's movement for the People's Party, is he's trying to claim that he's on the left, and he is not. He is not on the left. And the petitioners who came out last year, some of their chief complaints were that that he was racist, that he was allowing racist attacks in the Slack channel. And by the way, it's really fucking bizarre that a party seems to revolve around a Slack channel. Like, that's their only way of organizing. I've been doing party politics now for several years, and Slack is not, it's like the least thing that comes. We use Slack for the Bernie campaign. But when we organize for the clubs, when we organize at the central committee level or even at the state level, we're not talking about being in Slack channels where people are gossipy and getting into fights and shit. We talk about the battles that we have face to face or on Zoom calls, because we're literally fucking meeting all the time. We don't have some Slack channel where we're just hanging out acting like we're on message boards all day and playing pretend. This is some bullshit. This is the craziest ass party I've ever heard of. The way that he's trying to organize, it's all make-believe. It's so nuts. And at the same time, he's pushing forward all these talking points that are completely right-wing. Oh, no, we can't deal with the reparations argument because that's identity fucking politics, right, Nick?
Against the establishment, a mission they derided as building a, quote, red-brown alliance and economic reductionism. Hold on. Sorry that this is long, but in fairness, I'm going to read the whole thing. This group of board members also sought to remove any and all accountability from paid contractors. Paula Jean Swearingen was hired as our West Virginia State Director, but failed to bring in a single volunteer of National Organizing Committee delegate during her 6 months with the party. Sabrina Pena-Young represented herself as a populist when she was interviewed for our communications director position, but promoted a liberal message after being hired. Sabrina's woke attacks on many of us were so abrasive that dozens of grievances were filed against her, more than everyone else in the party combined, culminating in a petition with dozens of signatures demanding that she be dismissed. Despite their failure to meet basic contractual responsibilities and their hostility to volunteers, the minority board members protected them from so much as a reprimand, a dereliction of fiduciary and ethical duty in managing these paid contractors. Almost done. Other members of the board and I were told that any attempt to intervene in the hijacking of the party's message and purpose, including holding a party-wide vote on vaccine mandates, would be construed as, quote, retaliation against the accuser in further acts of collusion between her and those on the board. When the hostile members of the board and contractors realized that the investigation was not going their way, they encouraged the accuser to escalate her claims. The accuser's original complaint had not even used the words, quote, sexual harassment, but they told her to allege rape. This shocked the investigative committee, and one of the members later told me, every time I spoke with her, I got a different story. Every time I spoke with you, I heard the same thing. Another member of the investigative committee put a list of dozens of inconsistencies between her accounts. The original investigation was supposed to last about a week, but because it had not arrived at the predetermined conclusion sought by the hostile board members, they prolonged it week after week for 2 months, pressuring committee members to alter their conclusions, attempting to censor and expel committee members who objected to the political motives behind the allegations, fabricating the charge of retaliation for supporting a party-wide vote on vaccine mandates, and most seriously engaging in a sustained campaign to replace the legal board of the organization with a partial one that subtracted Rodrigo and me, an attempt that our general counsel affirmed was illegal. Had there been any actual evidence, the investigation would have concluded quickly. Because there was none, they resorted to manufacturing the new charges, further revealing their political motives. But the more her allegations fell apart, the more brazen the hostile factions on the board became. They abandoned their responsibilities in other areas of the party, including organizing, tech, and finance, and focused obsessively on an attempt to remove me. Meanwhile, they were also trying to enact their liberal agenda on the National Organizing Committee. They inserted a provision into the draft charter of the People's National Committee, which would have allowed registered Democrats to control every seat on about 40 People's Party state committee and a supermajority on our national committee, effectively inviting Democratic Party infiltrators. When populist delegates overwhelmingly struck down their provision, they were furious. They had realized that our members and National Organizing Committee delegates are overwhelmingly populist, and they were the outliers. Outraged, this hostile faction of board members drew up a plan to purge dozens of populist leaders from states across the party, beginning with me and proceeding to the other national board members and the state delegates who have voted against them, an action that would have destroyed the party. Nick's populist NOC, quote, NOC coalition has to go, they stated. Despite not having the votes to remove me and in opposition to our general counsel, they had resolved to do it illegally. This was so alarming to the remaining national board members that they brought it to my attention and that of the general counsel. I got 3 paragraphs to go. Apologies, it's long. At the same time, whistleblowers at the accuser's last place of employment told us that she had done the same thing at their organization that she was presently doing with us, accusing board members of sexual harassment and abuse, using it to split the board and demand professional advancement. It also turned out that she was friends and former colleagues with Shahid Buttar's accuser, who had sought to sink his congressional challenge to Nancy Pelosi and had even tried to get us to hire his accuser. The remaining board members and our general counsel decided that we had to take action to safeguard the party before they attempted to purge the party of populist leaders, delegates, and volunteers. We also knew that we couldn't let them continue to abuse volunteers, shift our message and mission to identity politics, and deny party members the democratic right to vote and decide the party's position on vaccine mandates. So we took action to remove them with the guidance of multiple lawyers and law firms. Having failed to derail the party away from the populist mission that has galvanized thousands nationwide, we can expect relentless attacks on the party and me. Expect those who are removed to attack on DNC-aligned and billionaire-funded media outlets that will have long sought to bring.
Isn't it amazing how long his statements are? Isn't that fucking amazing? Isn't it amazing how he can't do anything without being incredibly wordy and just like burying you in nonsense details that you really don't even need? Like the guy just fucking goes on and on and on and on. That happened too when the LA chapter of Our Revolution backed out of being part of the movement for the People's Party. This, I think, happened like about a year ago. It was a similar situation of just like vomiting words. And when they joined, too, when Our Revolution LA actually said that they were going to join the movement for the People's Party, which was the dumbest ass thing ever. And I said so, and they got all mad at me, and they literally just fucking backed out of it like 6 months later, right? So I'm like, what the hell is even happening here? And they tried to take over other chapters of Our Revolution. They tried to take over neighboring chapters. Our Revolution was supposed to be a nonpartisan organization that didn't have an allegiance to a specific party, but with the goal of organizing to enter. Organizing to change the party from within, transform the party from within. So they had a democratic lean to it, but their activism, their organizing was supposed to be nonpartisan. And this dumb ass knucklehead group decided, oh, we're going to join Movement for the People's Party. You know what's interesting about this is about this entire story is they keep describing in detail all these boards and these state parties and so on and so forth. I'd like to know how many actual people are involved in this, because from everything I have heard leading up to this, it's a very small amount of people. So you've got probably handfuls of people in certain states where he has like clusters where he's been somewhat successful in certain states, convincing people who would help him with his mission to join on board. But realistically, their membership is really fucking small. And so it's amazing to me that it's this complicated and detailed based on how many people are actually involved. Have you look at any of his rallies and shit? Very few people are actually showing up to anything he does.
Down the People's Party, especially since forced to vote. As long as I am with the People's Party, I will never submit to threats and blackmail. We will meet these attackers head on, because this is what the establishment does to people, parties, and organizations who threaten them. We will keep our mission sharply in focus and work steadfastly towards building a new major popular.
This is like a caged animal right now. This is a guy baring his teeth and ready to snap. This guy, I can't even.
Party free of corporate money. To the many dozens of people who have reached out with solidarity, encouragement, and defiance in the face of these attacks, thank you. Together we are building a new populist party, and we will transform this country.
Okay.
So that is Nick Brana's full statement. There you are. Hey, Nick.
Hi, Jordan.
I planned on reading the statement with you while you were here, but that's okay. That you were a few minutes late. So Nick Brana, National Chair of the People's Party, joining me. Obviously, I've done some reporting with Status Quo on you this week, so I'm glad you could join me to discuss all of this. I read your full statement, so if people didn't...
How y'all feel about watching these two creepers sitting next to each other on the Zoom call? How y'all feel about that? One thing... Okay, so Jordan was the wrong mouthpiece for this story, and I said so from the beginning. He already has claims against him that happened back in 2017. 2017 is when that happened. And if you look at all the women that he hires in and puts into his organization, I mean, it looks like a fucking harem. They all look the same, by the way. They're all like skinny white girls with really long brown hair. It looks very Charles Manson. It's so fucking creepy. But both of these dudes are creepers. And so Jordan is the wrong mouthpiece for this story. And that's why Nick has any level of footing, is because he can constantly deflect to Jordan's faults. That's why you shouldn't have had Jordan cover it. You should have gotten somebody like Walker Bragman.
Read the statement. Now you know what Nick wrote on, what was that, Wednesday, a couple days ago. So I want to start with just kind of a couple baselines here. Can you confirm that an internal investigation at MPP was launched in December after a subordinate that you said you have said you're were in a relationship with had made an allegation?
This is a part of a much wider and longer standing campaign to reorient the.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you, can you confirm that
there was? And okay. I'd like to begin, Jordan, as well, by saying, can you confirm the conflicts of interest that you've had in covering this story that you haven't so far?
So, Nick,
the fact that you are a personal friend of the accuser.
So, Nick, you're not going to filibuster. So if you're not going to answer the questions,
Jordan,
and you're going to...
That's interesting that he called it out like that, because that is exactly what everybody aligned with the movement for the People's Party. That's exactly the tactic they do. They do deflection and filibustering at every one of our Democratic Central Committees. And this is the style of fucking up the party that they do, because that is the goal. The goal is not to build a new party. Even the interview that Jordan did with what's her name? Tina Desiree Berg. She was like baffled, like, well, what is their goal? What are they doing? It doesn't look like they're trying to build a party. Come on, y'all. We've been talking about this for fucking years. His goal is to disrupt the Democratic Party. His goal is to keep people from voting for Democrats. That is the fucking goal. But yes, Jordan, you're correct. His style and everything he teaches everybody is to filibuster.
Are you a personal friend of the accuser or not?
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. That is a lie. That is a lie. Jordan, have you been accused of your own allegation that was false?
Nick, are you going to deflect, or you're going to answer questions?
I am asking you.
No. Nick, you're not the journalist. I'm a journalist.
Reported your conflicts of interest.
I'm not a friend with the accuser, and you're trying to deflect.
Nick, are you going to address the fact that Jimmy Dore is on your Celebrity Advisory Council and you gave him a friendly interview the other day? You going to fucking address that? That you went to friendly press? You went to a dude who has been your mouthpiece for a couple of years at least, maybe more?
So if you're going, excuse me, I am, no. This is not your show. This is not your show. So if you're going to try and, if you're going to deflect
right now about being a personal.
How did anybody fucking work with that guy? How did any of you work with that dude? Is this how he behaves all the time? He just fucking talks over people and tries to redirect the conversation? How did any of you decide that you were going to follow this guy? How did you do it?
Friend of the accuser.
I am not a personal friend of the accuser. I have literally met the woman who accused you twice in my life.
False.
One was at an event.
That's not what she says.
That's not what she says?
Correct.
So are you going actually to answer my questions, or you're just going to try and deflect?
I will. I just want your viewership and you to disclose the conflicts of interest that you have.
Nick,
in this
I have
story.
No conflicts of interest. None.
And perhaps why
do you have evidence
so
of excuse me, do you have evidence of conflicts of interest?
What she told me. Correct.
When did she tell you this?
She told me this in the fall of this year and in the summer of last year.
Oh, by the way, this is the guy who says that she lies, right? This is the guy who's like saying that everything that she has told us so far is a lie, right? That's what you said, Nick. So now you're like, oh, but I selectively believe what she tells me? What is the truth here? Who's the liar? I feel like you're the liar here.
The fall of last year and the summer of last year.
Through writing, through smoke signal? How did she tell you this?
She told it to me in numerous conversations.
Okay. So
wow.
I get your playbook. So can I start? Can I start asking questions?
That's a rather material part of this.
Can I start asking questions or no?
It is.
Okay, because this isn't Jimmy's show, so there will be no softballs.
Have you disclosed that you've attacked us previously at the People's Party, and me in particular?
How so?
That you wrote an article that stated that I was not a part of our revolution, that I was in fact not employed at our revolution. Are you affirming or denying that?
I've read a lot of articles. You'd have to gin up my memory. Seriously.
I think you know exactly which one I'm talking about.
Hey, Nick, can you confirm that I covered
I have W-2s at our revolution, and yet you said I wasn't employed there. This isn't your first time attacking the People's Party, Jordan.
Nick,
By the way, Nick just told you why our revolution is so fucked up. They hired people like that jackass. That's why our revolution is fucked up too.
I'll end the interview if you're not going to answer any questions and just read the story.
That's up to you. I just want your viewers.
Are you going to answer questions? Are you going to answer any questions or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good. I'm happy to, because there's nothing here in the investigation.
No, based on the record sources, including people who were investigating you.
Have you talked to the other two investigators at the beginning who submitted their conclusions? No, you have not. You should probably reach out to them. I'll put you in touch with them.
Okay. Nick, I'm going to have to start muting you if you're not going to let me ask questions.
Yeah, of course. Just making your viewers aware.
Wow.
Okay. So now that my viewers are aware that Nick Brana says I'm friends with his accuser and that I hit the People's Party, even though I've covered multiple People's Party events in person, conferences, we've established that. Okay.
Is it true that you reported that I was a part of our revolution or not?
Wow, this is.
I don't know what you're talking about, Nick. And stop deflecting. I'm not playing your game. And I know you've been lawyered up to say this shit. It ain't going to work. So I'm going to start answering my questions, asking questions.
If
you don't want to answer, we'll go from there. So.
Yeah, I hope you will.
Nick, in your statement, you said that, let me get the statement here. In your statement, you said, quote, when she made these serious accusations, the board acted immediately and appointed a committee of 3 board members to investigate. After taking written statements, interviewing both of us separately, and examining evidence, the committee concluded that the allegations did not have merit and were a politically motivated attempt to remove me. They discovered that 2 board members who had confided to others that they had long sought to remove me and take my position had orchestrated the allegation with the accuser and contractor. So in your statement, you said that there was 3 board members who were part of a special committee investigating you. I have two board members, as well as another source, saying that later on a 4th person was added to the special investigative committee, Todd Gellin. So why does your statement say there was 3 people investigating you when there was 4?
Because you said it originally. There were 3 to begin with. Have you talked to the other 2?
Excuse me. I, in my reporting, said a fourth was added later. So why does your statement say that there was only 3 MPP board members?
There were 3 originally. The investigation concluded, and the partial board.
Nick, wait.
Hold on. You want an answer, or you don't want
But
an
you're
answer?
not answering. You're not answering.
No, yes, I am. You just don't like the answer.
Your public statement said there was 3 board members investigated.
Correct.
Was there a fourth later added?
I was just answering your question. You want the answer or not?
Go ahead.
Excellent. There was a fourth added after it had already submitted its conclusions.
This is an angry dude. Look at him. He's fucking angry. You can hear it in the tone of his voice. You can see it in his posturing. This is not a guy who's trying to clear his name. This is a guy trying to rewrite the messaging on this particular story. This guy is not. He's an angry dude because he's about to lose power for actions that he apparently did. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. And he's trying to deflect. He's trying to turn this on to Jordan, which that's exactly why I said, Jordan, you shouldn't have done this fucking story. You should have given it to somebody with a clear record. That's some nonsense. Jordan, oh my God, even with you. Because he is in a position to railroad you. He can railroad you. He could not have pulled this bullshit with Walker Bragman.
And the reason that fourth was added was for the broader politically motivated attempt to replace me, shift the party's message from populism to liberalism, and oppose the party taking a stance on COVID vaccine mandates, opposing them.
So if the 3 of those members had already reached the conclusion, then why did you not provide that to me when I asked questions? Why did you not provide any evidence that a conclusion had already been presented and that those 3 board members?
It's in my statement. The other members would be happy. You haven't reached out to them. In fact, you never asked me to get in touch with them.
You issued a statement. A statement is an evidence. Excuse me.
Did you ask?
Excuse me.
Did you
A
ask
statement
them?
is not. A statement is not evidence.
To speak with them?
I'm
Did you
asking.
ask to speak with? Did you ask?
Why would I ask to speak with other board members when there's already multiple board members on the record saying? I'll just read their comments. Colin, if we could go to the first tweet. Regina Clark, one of the board members that was removed. She says that statement was not true. In our special investigative committee meetings, all 3 original members stated that we believed the accuser. When the 3 of us then discussed it with the rest of the partial board, the full board is 10. The partial board was minus you and your father, because obviously you couldn't be in meetings when an instigation into you was discussed. The partial board agreed that actions needed to be taken based on our findings of sexual harassment over Title VII. Later,
An aside on this. So Regina Clark actually liked a tweet the other day that I was mentioned in, and it was a reply to some of the coverage I've done on this particular story. But the person who was replying made a sexist reference, right? So the person actually replied something about, I want to say it was something like Nick's acting like his skirt's being blown off, or it was a reference to a skirt, which is a sexist, gender-based reference to try and emasculate Nick, right? But realistically, this is kind of the theme with these folks, is that they think that's funny. And so that's why, like Nick is saying, we don't want to be about identity politics, which means that you're going to propagate gender stereotypes and racism and everything else, because you're like, it's not important. It's not fucking important. And so for him to proclaim that he's on the left, he's not on the fucking left. He's not on the left. And somehow Jordan doesn't pick up on this kind of bullshit either. Like, there's so many progressives out there, progressives and quotation marks, that are like, oh yeah, I'm so progressive, except that I'm totally cool with like sexist jokes, and I'm totally cool with racism and all that. They all have their own individual lines in the sand of how far they're willing to go, but it seems like that particular brand of humor is acceptable to all of them. The brand of humor that is sexist is okay with all of them. And I'm sure that people can learn and grow from their experiences. I did reply to the tweet and say, hey, that's a gender-based insult. Let's not use outdated terms to try and, show that the guy is like off base, and that he, just because you can say, if you want to call him a coward. He is a coward. But don't use a sexist reference to do it.
Fourth person was added to the investigative committee over concerns about the integrity of two members of the committee and their communication with Nick Brana. Then you have Thomas Royko, another board member. To be clear, he was not part of the committee investigating you, but he was part of meetings in which the investigation was discussed. He says,
was also one of the ones
I'm not done reading the quote.
Along with Todd Jelen.
Yeah, I'm not done reading the quote.
Nick.
Quote, that's not true. Flat out lie as far as I was
adding
aware.
the context that you have a habit of not adding.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Quote, that's not true. Flat out lie as far as I was aware. Royko said the statements that he is making is riddled with lies. So there's either they're lying or you're lying, because you're saying the investigative committee already reached a conclusion that there was no merit in the woman's accusation and that it was politically motivated. But you have a member of the special investigative committee saying that's not true, that they did have findings. And we also have a document, Nick, and let's go, Colin, if we can go further down, to the February 19th emergency meeting petition, if you'll allow me to read this. This was sent on February 19th, which was Saturday, so 6 or 7 days ago. It's signed by 5 board members. The title is Emergency Meeting of the Partial Board of Directors National Coordinator Circle. And they, in this, pursuant to Section 9 of the Interim Operating Procedure of the People's Party, also known as Movement for a People's Party, a Michigan nonprofit corporation, the undersigned members of the Board of Directors of People's Party, also known as the National Coordinator Circle, and hereon referred to as the Board of Directors, representing at least 40% of all members of the Board of Directors, hereby petition the partial board, minus Nick and Rod, Chair Michelle Ramirez, to convene an emergency meeting of the partial board of directors, minus Nick and Rod, to occur within 24 hours from the partial board chair's receipt of this petition for the limited purpose of reviewing and discussing the recommendations of the special committee investigation into allegations of sexual harassment, improper behavior, and subsequent retaliation by the board chair, Nick Brana. That was Saturday. So how is it that an
Correct. That is the meeting that I described.
Wait, I'm not done asking. How is it that there was already a conclusion drawn that there was no merit of the entire 4-person special investigative committee if on Saturday 5 board members, 2 of them who were part of that special investigative committee, were asking for an emergency next day meeting to make recommendations? You're saying they already concluded there was no merit. They're talking about recommendations to discuss. That doesn't make sense.
They had concluded. And then Jordan, you just read my statement. The answer is in the statement. They politically.
Your statement is not evidence. A statement is not, excuse me. A statement is not evidence, Nick.
Oh.
A statement is not evidence.
A statement making accusations against me of sexual harassment is not evidence either. So, Jordan,
How the hell do you all follow this clown? How do you follow this clown? This guy is just talking in circles. What the fuck even? And yeah, Jordan, you should not have done this. It should have been somebody else. This is some ridiculousness because he's able to do this bullshit to you. He couldn't have done that to a different journalist who didn't have your backstory. This is just absolute. How do you follow this clown? He literally is just like talking in circles. He's like a fucking adolescent.
let me ask you, where is the evidence?
Excuse me.
Where is the evidence?
Nick, no, you're not going to do that.
I'm answering.
I have not reported.
Where is the
excuse
evidence?
me. I have not reported that you, Nick Brana, have sexually harassed anyone.
Did they provide you with evidence?
Excuse me. That you, Nick Brana, have sexually done anything to anyone. I have, to be clear to the audience, because I did not report details and I did not report whether it's true, whether it's
and
not.
You never will, because they don't exist.
Okay, but Nick,
isn't that at the heart of the matter, Jordan?
I don't know. I have no idea. That's why I didn't report it.
You're the journalist,
I report.
right?
Okay. Nick, I don't know if you realize this because you're not a journalist. If you're going to do a serious investigation into sexual harassment or more, you don't do it in 3 days. So what I reported, which you've confirmed, is you were under internal investigation. That's what I reported. And what I'm reporting now is there seem to be inconsistencies with the process for the removal of board members. I have not reported that you have sexually harassed. In every instance, the word alleged has been used. So you could keep on going on that, this is a liberal woke mob attack on you. But nowhere in my reporting has there been anything, specific allegations, or that you are guilty. So if that's what this is about.
Important? Isn't that what's important?
I think it's fairly important as a news. I think it's fairly important. I think it's fairly important as a news story that you're under investigation and that 5 board members were removed abruptly the same exact day that they called for that emergency.
So where's the evidence?
The same exact day.
You don't. Okay.
Nick, you're not asking the question.
Exactly.
You're not asking
You don't
the
want to
question.
answer the questions.
The same exact. The same.
This is hilarious coming
Nick,
from you.
Okay, I'm not. No. I am not doing nearly 2 hours of this bullshit. Nick, step the fuck down. Look, we've known that you've been a joke the entire fucking time. We know that you're a grifter. We know that this is a fundraising scheme. We know that you have no intentions of actually building a party, which is why you keep throwing, the people who are trying to successfully organize for you are getting thrown wrenches constantly. And nobody's going to succeed because that's not your fucking goal. Your fucking goal is a fundraising grift. And your goal is to confuse people and keep them in a constant state of anger and despair. I'm done. I'm not going to fucking watch this joker with his fucking excuses talk over Jordan Charitan, who has his own baggage that he's carrying around with him, who's the wrong guy to cover the story. This is some nonsense. I'm done. Oh, what's all this bullshit?